Hello, friends. This is your weekly reminder to check out Jeff's podcasts at jeffsawesomepods.com. Jeff hosts a few different podcasts ranging from RPG to discussion, and I'm sure that you will find something that tickles your fancy. From his discussion show Foolish Wits to the RPG show Shattered Worlds, there's a little bit of something for everybody. And don't forget, if you do go check him out, let him know that you heard about him from us.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, a Song of Ice and Fire to the co-host Switcherino. The rereading. Return to Westeros. HBO Spoiler Edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for your ears. Bringing you the greatest hits from fucking 13 years ago now? 12 years ago now? Call in with your requests now. Now, wait, actually, now that I think about it, this was like 2000, so 22 years ago.
Fuck, I didn't need to hear that like that.
Call in with your request now.
I request a time machine.
In this episode, we are covering chapters 12 and 13, Tyrion and Arya. In these chapters, Tyrion is trying to set something up with Shae to get her out, but then she's like got a pussy, and so he's like, well,
that dick wants something different. It
is
not on board with the plan.
And Arya is like, well, I don't know, I'm really paranoid, but maybe I'll just trust these guys this one time. And it looks like it's going bad, but then somebody she knows shows up. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king.
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
So, these chapters are a little bit of insight into some things that don't happen in the show. Some of the Tyrion stuff kind of does, but it's like they don't spend as much time with Shae after the time that he spends with her, like when he's Hand.
Right.
She sort of drops off the show in a lot of ways after that, which I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's very little of her after the Battle of Blackwater.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. I feel like the scene in the book, we get a reasonable facsimile of that in the show, but it's very short. Mm-hmm. And it's like the gist of what's happening here, where he wants her to leave for her safety, and she doesn't want to leave, and he ends up not being able to tell her to leave. And then... yeah, right. And then I feel like there's not much else until like the thing TM happened on the show.
The thing.
Which I'm really curious how that goes in the book. I remember hearing that. I feel like I heard that it didn't go this way in the book. Like in the show, he finds out that she's sleeping with Tywin. And does he kill her in the show and his father, or just his father? I can't remember.
I don't remember how it goes in the show completely, to be honest.
But I definitely remember being a reveal of her being in his father's bed, and then I think he shoots his father while his dad is on the toilet with a crossbow or some shit. Mm-hmm. But in the show, again with my shitty ass memory, that was a real goddamn surprise that she was fucking Tywin, right? Yep. And so I'm curious of a lot of things. I'm curious if that happens in the book. Is it Shae or is it someone else? Is it just that she fucked Tywin, or does Tywin do something terrible, threatens Shae's safety or harms her in some way, and maybe that is what sends Tyrion over the edge? I'm just curious of how it's going to play in the book.
Right.
But this interaction with Varys, you guys,
I love this shit so much. Varys is just delightful.
I thought I've been honest. I'm not sure how much I've actually shared publicly on the podcast and how much has just been a conversation with Natasha off mic. But I've been like, I'm not always sure where I am with these books. My excitement really does go up and down. But when it's up, it's really up. And I think that is what sustains me through bits of where I'm just like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this Varys and Tyrion moment, they're always so good. And this I thought was even better than what we usually get. Varys is just fucking on 100. Like, he's being the most Varys that ever Varys in the history of Varys everywhere. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so peak. And I really enjoy that. So I have been wondering and waiting, like, when are we going to see those two together again? Like, I know Tyrion's been convalescing and he's kind of like on the outs. He's not the hand anymore and, like, you know, whatever. But I knew we were going to get this. It was just a matter of when. And then we finally get it. And I was here for it. So
yeah, there's a lot of, like, interaction between Varys and a few different characters at times that I just realize how much I love him, and it's like, I think I actually made a joke at one point about how, like, some people say their favorite character is Varys and it doesn't, like, and I believe at the time I was using him as, like, an example just because I needed a name off the top of my head that was somebody who it sort of felt like, yeah, but they're not really what this is about. Right. And really, the truth is, when I stopped to think about it,
you regret it.
He is in my, like, top 3. Like, truly.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that was the name you landed on because the intent behind it is really not the same.
Exactly, That wasn't what I meant. I'm sorry. All parties involved. My judgment was flawed for a moment there.
And you asked for privacy during this difficult time.
We all make mistakes, and I just hope that you can forgive me.
Do you remember?
I'm sorry to anyone that I offended.
Do you remember that tweet that I asked for privacy in this difficult time tweet?
No.
It was a joke tweet. Some girl tweeted something along the lines of, you know what? Fuck Moses for bringing these raggedy ass bugs and roaches and shit on the ark. And then the tweet below it was like, it's been brought to my attention that it was actually Noah and not Moses on the ark. I deeply apologize to Moses' family and I'm asking for privacy during this difficult time.
The internet just can be such a great place sometimes. Every now and then, it really just comes through. Thanks to everybody on the internet who makes it a better place.
Especially black people.
I mean, it's almost universally black people that make it a better place. Let's be real. I'm not out here thanking many white people. White people, step your game up.
Somebody shared a screenshot, like a fake screenshot of, like, I shared it earlier today, of, like, it was like a Google search image, right? And the question was, like, top 5 crime bosses of all time.
Oh my God, I saw that feed! What the fuck? You guys.
They had Chuck E. Cheese in the number 1 spot.
But it was like Chuck E. Cheese.
His whole government name, it was like Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Charles Entertainment Cheese.
And people were saying that's really what the E stands for. My whole life I've had to fight, and I never knew that's what that E stood for. And then the caption just said, on Charles. Y'all, when I tell you I screamed, I still don't really understand why that shit was so funny to me, but it sent me.
There is nothing like finding out some like fact about. This is why we put the brand mascots in the Unsober, like, our list of potential topics, because brand mascots in particular are real fucking weird.
Oh
like,
my God.
And there are so many like deep facts that you won't even think to ask, and they'll suddenly be like, did you know that Cookie Monster's name is actually Sydney? And you're just like, wait, one,
you know what?
Really? And two, why? Why does Cookie Monster have another name at all?
I just learned just a day ago what the Cookie Monster puppet is eating. When he's eating cookies on the show.
It's Chips Ahoy, no?
No.
Chips Ahoy. What is it? What do you mean?
They're painted rice cakes.
Oh.
Because they need something that crumbles when he makes a mess, but like real cookies were like damaging, I guess, like the sugar
The fabric
or whatever,
and
right?
stuff. Yeah.
So they ended up being like, oh, rice cakes work perfectly.
That's smart. All right. They look like Chips Ahoy, because Chips Ahoy are dry as fuck. So
yeah, it's true.
They look right.
It's true.
But yeah, that's my little piece of info to you all, is that Cookie Monster's real name is Sydney, and that is a true fact.
Wait, is that true?
That is true.
Girl.
And I like, why? Why does Cookie Monster need a name? Why can't they exist as Cookie Monster?
So he's Sydney, the Cookie Monster.
I guess.
So Cookie Monster is more of a like title and less a name. Mm-hmm. The Cookie Monster. But they never call him the Cookie Monster. They call him Cookie Monster. See, now this is a whole sidetrack
thing. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we'll revisit this when I'm sober.
I just really, like, there are some things where I don't know why the extra info is needed, and we don't have to do all that. But I'm not like, if you want to, I guess we can. I'm not like, oh, that's a stupid name. One of my best friends' names is Sydney. I am not going to have a problem with that.
No shade to Sydney's around the world. But
exactly.
What we're talking about here is Cookie Monster.
Is Cookie Monster, who their first name is clearly Cookie. The end.
I thought we were all in agreement on that, quite frankly.
I mean, every time that I find out that something that I took for granted like that is not agreed upon by everybody, I have this moment of like, well, then what does it all mean?
This feeling of real betrayal.
A little bit.
I thought we were all on the same page, and then I find out that I'm on a completely different page than the rest of you.
Or it'll be like, I feel like such an idiot because I just took this for granted, and it turns out there's all this other information that not only did I not know, but never even considered.
Right. It was out there.
Why? Yeah.
It never occurred to me to Google what is Cookie Monster's name. And I feel like really that's on me. That's my bad, right? Like,
right?
Like I could have at any point in the last 15 years just Googled that shit. And it never occurred to me that it was necessary because I thought we all agreed that this motherfucker's name was Cookie Monster. Like, why would I Google it? I already know the answer. And then turns out you don't.
Sydney. All right. Like, what is everybody else's name?
Well, that's the thing right now, because now you're starting to think, well, can I trust any of this stuff?
Yeah.
Is Elmo really
Oscar,
Elmo?
The Grouch. And he has the.
Right.
So it's not like we just knew him as the Grouch, and one day somebody's like, his real name's Oscar. Yeah. It's not like that with him.
Yeah. His first name is definitely Oscar.
Yeah.
Which is actually really appropriate for him. In ways that I can't really articulate, but feels right.
Agreed. Strong agreement here.
And then, like, Fozzie is like Fozzie the Bear. He's like Fozzie Bear, or is it Fozzie the Bear?
Am I just realizing now that everybody's got a name except Cookie Monster? And that's like...
Yeah,
maybe that's the fucked up thing?
Grover's got a name. Bert and Ernie got names. Big Bird's got a name, even though it's more of a description. Maybe Big Bird
true.
really
Big
needs
Bird's
a name.
lazy ass fucking title. Like,
Big
and
then
Bird.
you have the
Jeez,
very
that's
best
really
name.
lame.
The best name ever doesn't even. The person doesn't even. There's not a person, but the thing doesn't even exist. You give a name Snuffleupagus, and then you find out he's completely imaginary. And what a waste that is.
That was fucked up. As a kid, that for some reason I got like real fixated on the fact that Snuffleupagus was not actually real. And there was just something about the fact that it was like, just, I don't know. This show was just like, oh yeah, well, we're just going to have everybody like see him and it's going to be like he's real, but like not real. And I remember just being like, wait, what the fuck?
It took me till I was an adult to realize that people didn't actually see Snuffleupagus. They were just humoring Big Bird and pretending that, oh yeah, I see your friend. How's he doing today? He looks great.
I don't think I've ever watched it as an adult, so I didn't realize that was what was going on.
I think that's what was going on. I think like in the earliest days, like when I was a little kid watching Sesame Street, that was the energy. Like, you know, the grocer or Maria or somebody would be like, oh, Snuffleupagus, you look wonderful today. But really, they were just doing that for the benefit of Big Bird. Like, they weren't going to be like most adults were like, oh, that's an imaginary friend and he's not real and I'm not playing with you. These were adults that were willing to engage in the fantasy of Snuffleupagus along with Big Bird.
I mean, I can't decide if that's like a good thing or not.
I think it was supposed to be wholesome.
I think it was supposed to be. Supposed to be is not the same as it is. You know, I think it was supposed to, like, oh, they love him so much that they're just going to like try and like make his day better by, you know. But there's definitely a part of me that's maybe a little bit too woke. Like, you are encouraging some mental illness that you really probably need to have some help with there, bud.
I am, and this is the weird thing, too, about talking about shit, like, with your friend, but in a way that other people can listen, is that now I'm like, well, people are going to Google that, and then maybe I'm misremembering how that went in its entirety, and now people are going to be telling me how wrong I am about stuff like this. So, y'all, don't Google that. Just take my word for it, like the old days.
Like the old days.
Just take this random information that's not based on anything and just accept it as truth. It's fine.
Can you imagine the fucking high of being in like a public position back in the days before the internet could just prove you wrong in 30 seconds? And it's not like there are people out there, you could prove them wrong all goddamn day and it's not going to matter to them.
Yeah,
but
true.
Like, do you know what I mean? We could be on here in a different era saying all this shit and that would just be what's real now. That would be how we lived.
I miss those days.
Honestly, it sounds good.
You could just say anything, and like the odds of a person being able to categorically prove that you're wrong just didn't. I mean, it existed in very short supply.
Yes,
you just be out here saying whatever,
and like people could prove you wrong, but will they have any sort of platform for anybody to care that you're wrong?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to spread the word that you're wrong? Probably not.
Usually in real time it's unavailable. Like, they might go home and pull out their fucking Encyclopedia Britannica or some shit and find out that I was wrong about how many legs a such and such has. But by then the moment has passed and you're home and I'm wherever the fuck I am. And you just, you know what I mean?
How many legs? What was your example in your head when you said that?
I was just trying to think of something really random.
Like, how many legs does such and such has? And all of a sudden, you really got my attention. And I was like, hold on, how many legs does it have, though? I want to know.
All right.
Anyway, okay. All right, guys. All right. It's time to get serious. Get serious about Tyrion. Poor Tyrion. So, he's talking to Varys, and Varys comes into his rooms to, like, find Tyrion already sitting there.
Yeah.
Tyrion is just like, I want to throw this motherfucker off a little bit. And it works a little, it seems. Unclear how, like, you know, how genuine the reaction that he gets from Varys is, but it seems like Varys is sort of like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah, he definitely appears to be startled that Tyrion is all up in his fucking private bedchambers, uninvited. Yeah. Tyrion is, like, trying to snoop around the room before Varys gets there, like, looking for anything. There's nothing to be found. There's no incriminating evidence of any kind, because Varys is not a fucking rookie. But Tyrion is also trying to figure out, like, I know there are secret passages in this bitch. Like, he's always sneaking in and sneaking out. There's got to be something here in this room. And he can't find it. And I love that it's Shay at the end. It's like, it's the bed.
Shay just, for some reason, is like, you know what? Fuck all this. I'm just going to tell that. So he didn't, I don't know if he told her don't tell, but she's just like, I'm going to do what I feel like. And what I feel like is blowing up his spot real quick. So. But yeah, that is a really fun, it's like a sort of, what does he call it? It's like a weight distribution thing. Because it moves like soundlessly, and she's like, he said it was magic.
Yeah, like a counterweight thing.
That's the one, counterweight.
Yeah. But yeah, so it starts off with Tyrion waiting for Varys in his private rooms, and Varys having to sort of recover. And this way, everything that Tyrion says about Varys, like his descriptions of how he speaks, the faces that he's making, everything in Tyrion's head is just like, this motherfucker. Slimy mouth, you know. He keeps calling him slimy. He keeps calling him, what was the other word he says? Everything is just kind of like punctuated with this, I don't trust anything he is saying to me. He is full of lies and pudding.
Lying liar who lies.
So there's a whole kind of like, oh, it's so good to see you. And Tyrion is like, I didn't think you'd ever want to see me again. And Varys is just like, well, you know, I'm a very sensitive soul. And that scar situation you had going on, I couldn't abide it. And then there's like a full body shudder for effect. Just like, oh, it was so terrible. I couldn't look at your fucking face.
Oh, that's so fucked up. Just be like, man, I just couldn't stand to look at you. So, no offense.
Right. Like, don't take it personally,
terrifying.
but you were awful. And I just, my delicate disposition, which is also funny to me because, you know, what we do know of Varys is that there's not a whole lot that's delicate in that way, you know. But this playing on this kind of like, you know, I would have fainted at the sight of you if I had been in the room. And we get some news about what's going on in court and at the council, and it is not great news for Tyrion. Yeah. Pycelle is back, and you and I had talked about this a little while ago. I couldn't remember. I remembered from the show anyway that Pycelle makes a comeback. Just couldn't remember exactly the finer points around it. But it is Tywin has reinstated him, and we find out from Varys that there's a little bit of intrigue going on with the Citadel, and the fact that Varys has information that is supposed to be so locked down, right? It's like when they choose a new pope, you know, and they go into the conclave, you know, and it's like all secret until like a puff of smoke comes out.
The white smoke.
When they did the first pope selection for fucking Benedict, I watched that shit because it was not the first pope selection of my lifetime, or maybe it was, because Pope John Paul was a pope for a long time.
Yeah, he was.
But I think he might have come up, if I wasn't born, it was like right after I was born. So basically my whole life felt like it was the same pope. And so I'd never had an opportunity to see it in real time. And I watched that shit like it was an HBO special. I was like waiting for what smoke's gonna come out the window. And then we got such a disappointing pope.
Yeah.
And so then when we did Francis, I don't think I even watched that one. You know, I didn't
Poor
even.
Francis, he was so sad. He was like, well, Sean, you watched the other guy. That's cold.
So we find out that Tywin has reinstated Pycelle not just as like Grand Maester, but also to the small council. And Tyrion is a little disgusted with that.
Yeah. Varys is like, well, he's always been a good friend to House Lannister. I love how fucking Varys just manages to like say shit that's true, but make it sound not true. You know? And it's like, well, we know, like, Anyway, I love Varys. I really do.
He has his ability to. It's not that anyone that he's dealing with in any moment 100% trust him, right?
Right.
However, so many people rely on him, and it's such a strange power to watch somebody wield, where Varys understands that a lot of things. I think he understands that he's not respected by anybody,
yeah, for sure.
right? He understands that he's not well regarded or well liked. He understands that no one trusts him, and he does not let any of that get in the way of what his. And this is where it gets confusing for me, because he has like a mission, but he also has like a job function. You know, the job function is very clear. He's the master of whispers and birds and spiders and all that kind of stuff, right? He's like the, CIA.
Right.
But he also has his own agenda, which I am not sure what that is even yet. I remember in the very first season of the show, they gave us that scene where he's talking in sort of the shadows in the dungeon area or in the Hall of Dragons or whatever, and he gives us that little talk about his allegiance is to the realm itself, right? This sort of, I serve a bigger thing than just who's sitting on the throne. I serve the preservation of this world that we are trying to create.
Yeah.
But in the nitty gritty of it, or day-to-day shit, he's just out here moving through these streets, making things happen for people that need things to happen, like he does for Tyrion in this moment, which is he needs Shay, and Varys accommodates that.
Right.
It's just such an interesting character where he is necessary but not well regarded. And
I don't need your trust or your like. I just need your information that I just asked for.
Yeah. And that, as far as we can tell, because I don't think we have any various POVs, or I haven't yet, I don't think. Best I can tell, Varys is very comfortable with his role that he's playing.
Yeah.
He seems at peace with it, while the people around him seem, forever just kind of like, what is his deal?
Yeah, I think that's a really nice, and isn't that something that Cersei thinks about specifically, is that Varys is difficult to deal with because she normally knows what people want, and she can use that against them. And because she has no idea what it is he's really trying for. Yep. She can't manipulate him, and she's just like, God damn it! I just I want some kind of leverage, something. Yep.
And because no one is really sure, and you would, and this is where like information being power comes into place, because I would imagine having someone as powerful as Varys in your court and not being able to control them in a way that you feel like you should be able to would make him so dangerous that, like, how has he not lost his head yet? But it's because he has so much information, and that information is power, and that is what protects him. Yeah. So we find out that not only has Pycelle been sort of reinstated, but this other guy, this Blount guy, who I think Tyrion had sort of uplifted into like the Kingsguard or something, right?
I can't remember if he's they don't like each other, but I don't know if I felt like he was there already, but I might be wrong about that. It doesn't really matter at this point, I guess.
It says, blah, 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 after Pycelle, blah, blah, blah. He talks about the different maesters that were coming. And one of the reasons why Pycelle gets the nod is because there was another maester that was coming that would have been a Tyrell sort of loyalist. And Tywin was like, oh, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But, Varys is like, so maybe it'll console you to learn that so Boros Blount is being reinstated. And Blount is the guy that Cersei had sort of like demoted.
Right.
So it's not so much that the guy is a Tyrion man, but just that it's somebody that Cersei didn't want around is now back around, and Tyrion is taking like a little bit of solace in that.
I love that. He's just like, well, I mean, we're not friends, but he really does hate her now, so that's good for me.
Yeah. And he's worried that, this guy, with whether he hates Cersei or not, will be loyal to Tywin because Tywin is the one who restored him. So it's just another fucking person in Tywin's pocket,
Yeah.
He's amassing this sort of legion of folks that are either indebted to him for being raised up, or who just are straight up afraid of him, or who are like monetarily in debt to him.
Yeah, yep.
And it will make it just increasingly difficult to deal with his father in any way if he's surrounded by all of these loyalists. But then the conversation moved on to what is really happening and why Tyrion has made this visit. And it is because he wants to see Shay. Also, can we talk about how annoyed he is that Tyrion shows up in this room and goes over to pour himself something to drink, and it's just water?
I love that so much. He's like, what the fuck? I knew that you were kind of fucked up, but this truly is just beyond the pale.
How dare you not
Water
have wine for me when I was breaking into your apartment and you had no idea I was coming?
So great. He makes a comment a couple times. It's just like, this is where you sleep. This is like not this Spartan. You know,
the room. He calls the room like basically like a coffin. There's this bed that is like made of stone. Tyrion is like, I would have sworn you would have slept in a feather bed. To which Varys is like, well, I've got these back problems, but But yeah, his ideas, it seems, Tyrion's expectations of what Varys' quarters should look like are very different than what he walks in on. I think he was expecting a room much like the way Varys dresses, all silks and softness, and comfort and delicacy and all that stuff. And instead, it is a cold, sparse room that no one would want to spend more than the time it takes to sleep overnight in under any circumstances.
I love that for him.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that he's so full of surprises that there's like, Tyrion's over here walking and thinking he knows what he's getting into, and then he just stops dead and is like, wait, this isn't the right room. This can't be the right room.
Right, exactly. I love that. I just love how little people seem to understand what and who Varys really is. And so he gives them enough in his performance of himself that it just feeds people's own imaginations, and they just run off with thinking that they know him. He does say, there's been a lot of questions about Sir Mandon. From your man Bronn. What's all that about? And there's a real kind of moment of chicken where Tyrion wants to see how much Varys knows about what happened with Sir Mandon.
Right.
And doesn't want to be the one to admit it, so it's just kind of like seeing what he's going to say. And Varys says something about Sir Mandon being like brave and a perfect white knight, and he died with a sword in his hand and all this shit. And Tyrion is really like, what's he gonna say next? Like, does he know? Is he gonna name drop anything? Is he gonna give me any kind of indication that Mandon was working with Cersei and for her and on her orders? And of course, Varys does not give him any of that.
Does not do shit.
Yeah.
I wish I could pull off this kind of fucking mysterious. It's just not in me. Yeah. I am an oversharer.
Yeah.
And a talkity-talker. And I have just had to sort of come to terms with that being my brand and be okay with it.
I am not as mysterious as I used to be. But I tend to I get the impression, I don't know if this is true or not, I feel like with the podcast and with the community that everybody knows everything there is to know about me. But what I have heard back is that a lot of people feel like they don't really know me much at all. So in my mind, I am sharing a lot, but I guess that is not 100% accurate. And it's just a real like disconnect that can happen with people sometimes, where how you view your actions and behavior don't really jibe with the people who are receiving them.
Yep.
Because you tell me all the time, people like want to know more, and I'm like, what else is there? I say everything on all the podcasts all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, because like I do see you as somebody that everybody's like, well, I want more, and I want to know more, and I want like more interaction, and yet in the groups and stuff, you are certainly more active than me a lot of the time. You are around more and commenting more, and just like, I tend to be so overwhelmed by everything a lot of the time that I stay out unless it's like something immediate and crucial that needs a response right away, and it has to be me.
Right.
But yeah, it is sort of funny that I feel like you are seen as still like a closed book, or at least a book that we've only read the first page, and yet you are like around a lot. You know, it's not like you're withholding in any way.
Yeah, I'm out here.
Yeah, it's just funny to me, the sort of reputation I feel like you've got at this point. And you know, maybe it's just that people love you, or Sean. Maybe people just want to know more about you 'cause they love you.
Yeah. So
That's certainly
anyway,
it.
I can't endorse that. I
Can't endorse that. This is not an election. I don't know what you think that means, but
I can't co-sign that. Anyway, that's enough about me. So
problems, guys. She got issues. It's all right. Don't take it personal.
True. It's really true, you guys. I love you guys, and you know what? It's not even like there's stuff that's interesting that I'm like withholding. It's just that it's not that interesting. You know? I mean,
says you. I'm just saying.
That reminded me of a story I want to tell you at some point.
No, see, that's the thing. You're over here like, oh, I'm not sharing anything, and then you're like, well, I'll have to got something juicy actually.
So, all right. So we get to Shay. Oh, wait, no. Before we get to Shay, one last thing I want to mention that they talk about, because there's kind of a lot going on here. But Varys is still bringing Tyrion up to speed on what's going on and everything. And he asked about, like, I want you to bring me Shay. And there's a whole conversation about how that just is not a good idea. Because everybody is watching Tyrion. Even Tyrion is aware, like, everybody is watching. But he wants to know who. And one of the first names that get drops are the fucking Kettle Blacks. These motherfuckers, again. And
I hate them.
Varys sort of implies, because Tyrion is like, all right, Cersei's paying them, but, like, what if I paid them more? Right? And Varys has to be like, you know what? I don't think you have the same type of currency, though.
That so much. She has a purse that is nigh inexhaustible. And
it's really like, Tyrion is just like, are you telling me she's fucking them? And it turns out that it's not even as good as that. Yeah. But it appears is that Cersei is playing this, you could maybe fuck me in the future if you did the things I asked you to do kind of game. Which, even though I don't like Cersei, I am not mad at this approach, because, you know, you have to use what your mama gave you according to all the songs that I've listened to.
Agreed.
And she has this campaign of just flirting, you know, mercilessly with Osmond Kettleblack. You know, she's staring at him a little too long, brushing lightly with her breast, you know, a little dirty joke, you know, a lot of like, it could be. It's not off the table 100%.
Yes, but
right? But you playing.
You playing a game of Thrones.
Ma'am.
Sorry, everybody. That was painful for me, too.
I like how like disgusted Tyrion is. He's just like almost like this is too much even for her. Kind of energy. Like she cannot possibly be doing this thing. And when they find out, when Tyrion realizes that, you know, it hasn't actually, as far as we know, been done, they haven't really fucked, she's out here playing this game. And Tyrion thinks for a second, like, okay, maybe I can use this to my advantage, which is just like Tyrion's MO, right? Like, this is his entire way he operates, is how can I take this information and situation and flip it to my advantage? And he thinks for just a moment, wouldn't it be great if I could get them past this fucking bullshit playing and really get them fucking and then make it so that father finds them? Which is a really complicated, convoluted plan that I just don't see how he's in any position to make happen.
Yeah, that's a pretty dream. That's one of those things that you fantasize about with like somebody at work where you're like, wouldn't it be cool if they found out that this person didn't do any of their work? It sure would.
Exactly. But like
where that thought ends.
no way to make this reality. And so we find out that not only are the Kettle Blacks like have been engaged in watching Tyrion's every move, but there are lots of other folks out there. And there's a list of people who do not like Tyrion and would love to be able to bring the news to his father of his wrongdoing, you know?
Yeah.
So we have Janos Slint's sons are out there that would love to dime him out. Peter Baelish, of course, would run with that information if he had it. And it seems like this is not going to be possible, which is Varys' whole point. Like, this is a bad plan. But instead, Tyrion is like, nope, what you're going to do is you're going to bring her right here to your bedchambers. And this is where I'm going to meet her. And
what do you think of this plan?
Well, you know, it seems at the end of this chapter, it seems like it worked. I mean, maybe it didn't, and I'll find out in a chapter or two that, no, he was definitely seen and got caught. But it feels to me like this is, and Tyrion's honest, this is desperate. This is desperation. And I personally don't think very many good, sound ideas come out of desperation.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And it's not just that he wants to see her because he says, I need to see her one last time before I send her away. But that is, while understandable, selfish.
Yeah.
If, in fact, his only objective was her safety, he gets her out of that city without ever seeing her. And though it might hurt her feelings and suck for him, he would have to just live with that shit because you're doing the better thing for somebody else. You are sacrificing your wants and desires for the safety of this person you claim is so important to you. And he's unable to do that. He needs to see her, and let's be honest, fuck her one more time before he sends her away. And I suspect that, because Tyrion is a lot of things, and self-aware is generally one of the top of those things. He knows, I think, on some level, that insisting on seeing her one last time is not the smartest move. And that also it's a weakness in him. Right?
Yeah, he has a moment while they're fucking where he's like, wait, am I actually as stupid as my dad says? And I was like, well.
In this moment, yes. Yes, you are. So he gets all cleaned and puts on his finest finery for this rendezvous. And thank God he sees himself in a goddamn mirror and is like, what the fuck are you doing, sir?
Oh, I love that so much.
Like, he's supposed to be on this like, you know, amble around the grounds, just going to visit the fucking eunuch because he just needs somebody to talk to, and he's bored and he's convalescing and doesn't have shit else to do. And yet he's dressed in like the peak high court, you know, attire. Like he's going to a fucking coronation. And thank God he's like, you know what? let's tone it down a bit.
It was so interesting too, because it's not the sort of thing that I might think of in his case, because I don't really think about menswear particularly attracting notice. And then I'm like, well, yeah, not today a lot of the time, but there was a time where it was quite a lot.
Yeah. I find myself
could return to that,
harkening back to the time when men were really just like, I'm going all out all the time,
right.
every day. I
really do miss the old like fop days. I want to have a little bit more of that. It's fun. Nobody has time for it anymore because of capitalism.
When Facebook first became a thing in my life, there was a guy that was floating around, and he wrote this really fun book, but it was all about like dandies, but it was. Okay. But it was written in such. I have to do some deep dive in to see if I can find it again and share it with you. But it was really funny because it was not only was the imagery like of men like just being dressed up, to the nines, but the way the book was written, it was also written in sort of that vernacular of the time, which was
that's fun.
It was just a lot of fun, and some guy that's sort of local, I think, was behind it, and I think we ended up having like a couple of mutuals, which is how I found it. And it was a really fun little like piece of book. It wasn't much to it, but it was just like the sort of like old timey talk that sounds so ridiculous now, but it's fun when you engage in it. So yeah, it was good stuff. But he ends up dressing much more casual, so it's not quite as ostentatious and won't draw as much attention. And then he heads on over and he does the plan of hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to look conspicuous by sneaking and skulking around. I'm going to stop and talk to the guard here. I'm going to stop and talk to Sir Loras, who is guarding the drawbridge. He has a wonderful conversation with him too. So quick, but guys.
Yeah.
So Loras has, he's part of the King's Guard. He was part of Renly's King's Guard, right?
Right.
And this just transfers to the King's Guard of Joffrey now that they are, like, on the same side. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. Like, does that take a second ceremony? Or is it just, like, transferable?
I don't know how that works. I would think it was another ceremony, but I genuinely don't know how that would work.
Yeah, but it wasn't included as far as I remember, so I don't know if that means it didn't happen or if they just are like, I'm already a King's Guard. It doesn't matter who the king is. I'm King's Guard. So you're the king now? Okay, I'm your King's Guard.
Yeah, I don't remember if there was a ceremony. Because I kind of thought we had read that there was.
Well, there was
my memory on a lot of this stuff gets mushed together.
And also, there was a lot of ceremony after the battle.
Exactly,
where I don't remember if it was explicitly stated that he is now, one of Joffrey's King's Guard. Because there was just people getting knighted all willy-nilly. It's hard to keep up. But Tyrion takes a moment to talk to him and ask him a little bit, like, you're 17? And Tyrion thinks to himself, 17 and beautiful and already a legend. And immediately starts thinking, half the girls in 7 Kingdoms want to fuck him. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, sir, that's probably true, but he has no interest in that, and you don't even know that.
That is the wrong tree to be barking up.
And Loras is just like, no, it's not unheard of, and he names, like, someone else who did it. And then he even names Jaime. And Loras says, when Tyrion says something like, there's pleasure to be had, in love and family and children. And Loras says, when the sun has set, no candle can replace it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Tyrion says, is that from a song? And then says something about how he really is 17.
Yeah, I can see that now.
And I was just like, man, don't say that to this kid right now. Like, he doesn't know what it is that he's referencing. But man, there is nothing worse when you're young about like then experiencing real pain and somebody just being like, yeah, but you're a kid. Yeah, you are a kid, and this pain is real to you as a child. It's fine. It's still valid.
Loras is like, do you mock me? You got a fucking problem with what I'm saying? And Tyrion is just like, oh, he's prickly. But and then says something kind of sweet with just be like, he asked for forgiveness, and then he's like, you know what, I had my own love once. We had a song as well. And then he stops to talk to a couple of guys at the fighting kennel.
I hated this so much. It's so casual, and it's just like one of the dogs ripped the other dog's face off, and he made a joke. Yeah. And I was like, ugh. Just, yeah.
Another one of those, like, but this is what they would have been doing. And also, like, yeah, but then I need to
But I don't want to hear about it.
There's a lot of shit in this book that, like, is already hard enough to take. I don't need, like, additional sprinkles of, like, depravity and brutality.
Fair.
But, eventually he makes it there, and she's there, and Varys is also there in, woman's clothes. And
this killed me.
Tyrion thinks that it might be Lolly instead, and is like, has a heart attack.
He like backs away in horror before going, oh my God, it's you. Jesus Christ. Had a real moment
there. A woman
there.
sidled into the light, plump, soft, matronly, with a round pink moon of a face and heavy dark curls. Is something amiss, she asked? And then Tyrion realizes who it is.
I love it. It's so good.
And then he disappears, which I thought was really funny. Tyrion, like, sees Shay, and they have their little thing about, like, she's not wearing any clothes, and they can't wait to fuck, and then Tyrion says something like, well, we're gonna have to ask Lady Varys to leave. And Shay is like, oh, he gone. And Tyrion turns around, and it's true, he's just poof, just gone. And once again, Tyrion is like, where are these goddamn hidden doors at?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
The whole idea that he's like actively looking for Varys and yet doesn't recognize Varys when Varys is right in front of his face. That's one of my favorites. Like the whole the level to which Varys is like undercover is operating. Just truly masterful. What a legend.
Yeah. And that this is the second or third time we've seen him in disguise when he's meeting, I think, Tyrion. Like, one time he's like, he just looks, I forget what he's like dressed like not like a commoner or like a worker of some kind, like he's filthy, and you know, like Tyrion doesn't even recognize who he is, and it's Varys. They keep underestimating my dude. I feel like he keeps trying to show anyone who will pay attention that he is not one to fuck with, and yet
they keep fucking with him.
They keep fucking with him, and they keep underestimating him. And I wonder, I guess in this world, when you come from a powerful family, that is a big fucking deal, right? And but it also kind of warps you to where anyone who doesn't come from a family as powerful as yours, you can't help but sort of dismiss and underestimate. You know, even the smartest people can't help but underestimate people who don't come from like a big house that's, you know, as powerful as the others that they're used to. You know, Tyrion at this point, in my opinion, should be done underestimating Varys. Like, that ship should be over.
Agreed.
But he continues to do just that.
Yeah, he has not learned yet. Or maybe he like tries not to, and it's just the shit that he can conceive of. Varys is so far ahead already that he's like, well, damn.
Yeah.
I thought that I had the idea of what you could do, and I just keep being wrong.
Yeah. But again, like, that lends itself to, like, underestimating. Like, you just, you know, you think you understand what this person is capable of, and they keep fucking surprising you, and you keep realizing that you weren't even close to understanding what they were capable of. And not even were you not close to understanding what they were capable of, but you, in fact, thought you had reached it.
Right, yeah. I think that's what I meant, is that, like, I think he thinks what he has seen is, like, the peak of what Varys can do. And then it's just so not. But why would you know, dude? He really thinks that Varys is going to show him all his cards? Like, why would he do that? That's the opposite of how this guy likes to operate.
So, Varys leaves, and we get Shay, Tyrion sex, and, it's fine. It's whatever it's going to be. It's very quick is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
And she...
That is really brutal.
She is... I'm sorry. I mean...
I'm sorry. Just like if you said, like, was it good for you? And they said, it was fine. Wow, bury me in the ground. I'm not coming back from that. But you're not wrong. Five thrusts. And he's already done.
Yeah, it was not his best work. And she is angling to not only just stay in King's Landing, but to be returned to him.
Yeah.
She misses her fine clothes and her jewels, and she is quite fixated on the upcoming wedding and really wants to go. And there is this person in the house at Lolly's with her, this singer named Simon, who is just filling her head with tales of how, like, magnificent the wedding would be.
Yeah.
And also sort of suggesting that there's a way for her to be here. Tyrion just has to, like...
Make it happen. Yeah.
Simon says that there's lots of places I could go where no one would even recognize me. Simon says that there's a part where it's so dark that no one would see me, and I could just grab your cock while you walked by, but nobody would notice. And Simon says this, and you know what I mean? And Tyrion is feeling more and more threatened by this guy, and it feels like he is worried on the surface because he's filling her head with all these bad ideas. But also, it's just jealousy, right?
I think so, yeah.
There is this man, because he expressed this jealousy he feels the one time he saw Shay and this random fucking guard or something pass on the stairwell.
Yeah.
And she touches his arm, and he is just engulfed in rage and jealousy at this, like... I don't even know if this guy's attractive, but he's able-bodied.
Yeah.
He's, he's all the things that Tyrion isn't physically, and he's thrown, like, into this stew of jealousy and inadequacy and everything. It's really, kind of ugly.
Yeah.
And it feels like underneath his concern about what Simon has been telling her, there's a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that's, like, playing a much larger part than Tyrion wants to admit. It's that's just sort of the theme of what's going on with him, honestly, is that he keeps trying to tell himself he's doing things for XYZ reasons, and it becomes really clear that it's for his own selfish reasons. But he just doesn't really want to look at or admit that.
Yeah. Yeah. He even is jealous later when he finds out that Bronn has been fucking...
Arya.
Yeah. And he feels like a sort of possessiveness over that. And he recognizes that, like, I have no right. But also, Bronn should have fucking not fucking...
Yeah. That was like, he should have kept his cock out of her. You just got done saying that there's no sense in that. But then you end it with, but I'm still going to say that how I feel is right and that he did the wrong thing. How? Stop it.
Yeah. We find out, too, that he sent her, like, some gems and, like, a necklace and earrings to apologize for the fucking, brutality she endured.
Yeah.
But he ends up, instead of convincing Shay that she needs to get out of town right now and that they cannot see each other again, he ends up sort of promising that he will keep her around. Yeah. He doesn't promise that she can come to the wedding, but he does promise that he remains her lion and that she is his. And Just keep me, she says. Just keep me, my lion, and keep me safe. And he promises that he will do those things. Which is the complete opposite of what he came here to fucking do.
Uh-huh.
So he goes back to his room, tells Pod to go wake up Bronn in the middle of the night. Bronn is disgusted.
Bronn, I mean,
and
yeah.
He's just like, you better had a good reason for dragging me out of that bed. And Tyrion is all like, oh, you were there at the whorehouse. And Bronn is like, fuck yeah, I was. I'm a knight now.
Want to fight about it?
Right? And it's because also the jealousy, not just specifically about Alaya. Doesn't seem right. But also that Tyrion can't just be out at the brothels like he would be. Even if he wasn't going to be fucking anybody in particular. Like, that is cut off to him, and he feels a real resentment about that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he sends Bronn out after Simon. Without clear instructions. You know, he thinks you should fucking kill him, but what he says is just find him before somebody else does. Because Tyrion is convinced that this relationship that Shay has with this guy who talks all the time is that she might fuck around and say some shit too. And how dangerous that would be for her and then for him.
There's something about you should kill him that I just found so, like, chilling. You know, this dude is literally just talking to her about some shit with you know what I mean? It's just so wild that he even has the urge to be like, no, I really should kill him. I want that.
Yep.
Get a
and
hold
that
of
he
yourself,
could have.
sir.
And, like, if he had said it, it probably would have happened.
Most definitely.
You know? And he has to think to himself, this man hasn't done anything but sing a couple fucking songs. Really. Oh, okay, he's filling Shay's head with a bunch of stuff. But neither of those are fucking punishable by death, one would think.
One would think.
One would think.
Tyrion.
Yeah. It is definitely one of his weak spots. And it's funny, it's not funny, but like the show and the books make it seem like in his father, your weakness is whores, you know? And obviously it's not just whores, it's not just sex, but it's like the desire to be loved and valued and held, you know? And made to feel like less of a monster. That is the thing. And that's the thing that holds value for him, and that is the thing that makes him, that drives these rather suspect choices that he's making.
That is a very diplomatic way of saying that. Yes. Suspect choices. That could be the name of my autobiography. I like it.
It could be.
So, yeah, this chapter ends, like you said, with him promising the exact thing that he came to not do, and then sending Bronn to go find a guy and just find him before someone else does. Which sounds very threatening, and I don't feel like he really hears himself on that. Yeah,
because I feel like once you find him, what exactly are your plans, sir?
Yeah, questions that need answers. So, then we go to Arya. Arya's hearing some men singing, and she is immediately certain that this is the Bloody Mummers, that they have been found out, and her first thought is, it's not fair. And I'm like, you are not wrong. It's not fair.
We were
it's
so
just
close.
The entire vibe of this book.
Yep. We were almost safe.
Yep.
We finally found the trident. Then you're right. This is the whole energy of the entire series, right? Like getting your people to places where it feels like there might be safety, they might survive, and then just yanking like the entire rug out from under your feet.
Yep.
I love that she goes, but why would the mummers be singing? And that's funny to me because, again, mummers for me means something very different than it does in this book, or even traditionally. It has taken on its life of its own, very distinct to Philadelphia. So, as far as I'm concerned, mummers are always
That's
singing.
what they do. Oh man, yeah. I remember while I lived there being like, oh, I'd really like to go and see one of those parades, and then like it wasn't until I left Philly that I found out about like just all of the fucking grossness behind them.
You didn't hear that while you were here?
No, I never really talked about the mummers to anyone. I just would hear about that there were the parade was this weekend or whatever. So it just never came up. And then when I found out later, I was like, oh my God. And my friend Nicole, she dated a guy who was one of them for a while.
I'm friends, I used to be friends with some people that were like hardcore second, third, fourth generation mummer people.
Damn.
I went to a service for a friend that passed away. They had like a memorial, not like a funeral, but it was after he had died. He'd been going for a while, and he had a thing for all of us to come to. And they held it at the Mummers Museum, which I had never been to, down on 2nd Street. And me and Steve walked in, and they have like all these mannequins in the old like fancy dress and everything from years past. And the first joke me and Steve made when we walked in is, "Hey, where's all the blackface?"
You two can't take you anywhere.
Those are the moments where it's like people don't understand why me and Steve are together and have been together this long, but those are the moments, y'all.
Where's all the blackface?
But yeah, and if you're not like people listening that aren't local, obviously, Philadelphia has a tradition called the Mummers Parade that happens every New Year's Day for us, and it's a huge deal. And it is steeped in a history of misogyny and racism. And over the years, they have tried to progress out of that. And
with varying levels of success.
Varying levels of success. And it's the thing that gets them. The last couple of years, they've done a real regression, but which is not surprising considering the climate that we've been in the last several years. But for a long time, the official mummers, because there are clubs, and you join different brigades. Thank you. And it's official, and you pay dues, and you work real hard on your costumes all year long, and like people, that's like fucking work people put in. And they play instruments, they come up with like themes for sketches. It's real shit. But the parade is like very loosey goosey in real time. So what will happen is the official participants are doing their thing, and then there will be just like hundreds of neighborhood people who are just in the parade because they're drunk and they're marching along. And those motherfuckers are always in blackface or wear like dresses or just being gross in a myriad of ways. And they always end up bringing like just a lot of gross shame on like the parade itself. But, so that's what I think of as mummers. I know that in the stories here, the sort of origin of the word is the same, but the actual bloody mummers is a very different thing. Very, very different indeed, yes. And so whenever I see, like, when she's like, why are my mummers singing? I literally thought, bitch, that's what you did. And then I realized she was talking about the other thing.
Yeah, so this moment of panic from her, I just really appreciate how much George R. R. Martin can make me feel that. When she hears them, like, my immediate reaction is also, God damn, that door is loud. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
It's almost as bad as your door.
My door is starting to like settle again. I don't know what's gonna guys, that door, my office door, like it doesn't open and close during the show, so you all don't know.
Yeah, because they don't hear it.
But this door has been having some issues, and
I thought your house was trying to kill you the first time I heard that door. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
That door has this like it's so tight in the frame, and this is not an exaggeration. My door handle broke off in my hand not that long ago. So we wound up having to like replace the door handle because I was leaning down on it so hard in order to get the fucking door open.
Did you feel really powerful when it broke in
No,
your
I
hand,
did
though?
not. I felt powerless
like-
because I was outside my office and could not get in.
Oh, I thought you were in trying to get out.
I was out.
You didn't feel like a superhero for a split second?
No. I just had a moment of like, oh. And then, babe, as I tried to get his help for it. Yeah. Could be better.
That turned into quite the ordeal. I remember.
It really was. Everything, that's the thing about, like, just having a house is you think that there's going to be something that's fairly simple. It's never simple. There's always a whole thing. It's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like, owning is lovely, and not that I own this, but, the idea is there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, there's always fucking something. I mean, renting there also is, unless you, like, wind up getting really lucky with your super or landlord or whoever that takes care of that shit.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, like, most of us don't.
We really don't. And for some reason, Steven, like, just doesn't want to call them. Like, I want them to come and fix my toilet seat. And he's like, we just buy a new one. And I'm like, but I rent. Why would I buy a new one? They can come fix this. But we'll probably end up just buying a new toilet seat. Because nobody wants to be bothered.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing as well, is that, like, if you rent, while it's lovely that somebody else is responsible, they have to come into your home. And that's always such a weird vibe, and I just, like...
And it's always on their schedule, not on yours.
And I'm sure that other people can relate to me on this. I have, like, really acute anxiety about people in my home, like, doing service stuff. It is really frustrating because I recognize how silly I'm being about it, but I can't help the, like, acute anxiety that I get. And we had, like, a guy come in to fix our water heater a while back. And it's just such an awkward thing because you're like, well, this guy is just out there. Should I be, like, I leave him
company?
alone? Yeah.
Do I treat him like I treat company, or do I just let him do his own thing?
Because, like, if I were him, I would want to just be allowed to do my own thing. So my instinct is to do that. But sometimes you get a guy who's real chatty, and this guy was, that makes you feel like he wants you to stay and keep him company, which I have no interest in. I don't want to. I have shit to do. I'm in my own home. I want to go and, like, get some work done or hang out. And then you have the, like, well, but if I stay, is it hovering in a way that makes it look like I don't trust you to do your job kind of thing? And that's insulting in its own way. It's just really hard to know sometimes. So I just have the whole thing isn't so much like I have anxiety because of what I want. It's like I have anxiety over the message that whatever I choose to do gives this person. And whether or not I want that to be the message that they get. I don't, like, it's just all of my anxiety tends to circle around, is this person going to feel bad? And should I, like, can I help them not feel bad? And which of the things makes them feel less bad? And I can't tell because there's a weird way to interpret both these things. That's just truly where I live most of the time. Is like people pleasing turned up to 11.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also a really fun, and I mean by fun, horrible side effect of people pleasing, that we don't talk about all the time, which is the deep, deep resentment we feel for having to people please.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, what a imposition it is, and we hate it.
Yeah.
And yet can't seem to stop in doing it.
I wish I could turn that off. You and I talk a lot about how nice it would be to not have any shame. And really, like, when we say that, what we mean a lot of the time is, what would it be like to not feel like you have to people please all the time? What would it be like to just be able to live and do what you feel is right for you constantly without ever thinking about the people around you?
Yep. And, like, I don't even mean that, because that can sound like, well, no, you want to think about the people around you. I don't think either of us mean it in a selfish, harmful way.
No.
But, like, to be able to live your life with your first questions being, how does this serve me? How does this make me happy? Does this fulfill me? That's not a bad way to live. Those are valid questions you should be allowed to ask yourself. And then move forward. But if you're, like, trapped in that people-pleasing bullshit, those questions are, like, 25 down on the list.
Yes.
You know, before you even get to checking in with how you feel about a thing, you have checked in with all the possible, you know, outcomes with all the people in your life before you check in with, oh, but what do I want to do?
Exactly. It's just wild, too, because half the time, the thing that I choose, it's not even like I'm making them feel, it's like I'm just putting something off rather than actually making the situation better for anybody or saving someone's feelings. I'm just like procrastinating on something that is sort of inevitably going to come back around anyway, so I may as well just fucking deal with it. But I don't. Funny story. I don't. And that is how that goes.
And that's the story.
Truly. I wish I wasn't like this as much as anybody, but...
Yeah. I thought I had got out of it for a while, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I had a couple years in my life where I really thought that was not, like, my driving motivation anymore. And then the shit just creeped back. And I was like, well, God...
Dies hard.
Yep. So... so she hears the singing, and there are 3 gentlemen that come up on them, and she has Hot Pie and Gendry kind of go hide. And it is a kid with an arrow who's very good at it, named Archer. There is a guy in a ratty yellow coat they call Lemon or Lim. And then the main guy, whose name I have already forgotten.
Oh, right.
The one who does most of the talking, Tom, the singer.
Yes.
Tom O'Sevens, I think is one of his names.
Oh my God, I just have to mention that I love whenever Arya is thinking to herself about the gods, she just says, you old gods. And I know that it's meant to be like the old gods, but it just sounds like, hey, you old gods. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like old in the way that you just are really dismissive of something. And there's something very on brand for me about that. And that is just always gives a real strong vibe that Arya is simultaneously asking for help, but also kind of like, I don't know about this.
What fucking good are you?
Yeah, you know, and it just feels right to me.
Yeah. I'm going to ask for help, but, like, you've been really shitty with helping me recently, so I'm not going to hold my
I don't know where the fuck you've been. I don't know where the fuck you are. I'm putting this out there because I may as well, but Lord knows y'all have not been any help to me. I can't be mad. That's basically my feel as well, so that's fine.
I feel like most people, that's their fucking experience with various organized religions. A sort of like, I'm just doing this because I hear this is a thing that people do, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know, but also, my expectations are fairly low. So they're all, these 3 guys are saying that they hear something as well. And there's a conversation kind of about, like, what could it be? I love there's a bit where someone is like, it could be a wolf or it could be a lion. And the other guy goes with 4 feet or 2. And the guy is like, it doesn't matter. And then they say something out loud, kind of like, well, one guy's like, you know, well, be careful because it could be somebody hiding, like a woman with a babe, you know, who's terrified. And somebody says, well, an honest person would have showed their face by now, so whoever it is has got to be an outlaw.
Which truly, guys, I know that you're just like kind of playing right now because you just want them to come, but that is just bullshit. Anybody really would hide. It's a bunch of dudes that nobody knows who they are. Hiding is the fucking right move. Yeah. It just is.
In considering the state of this world, and how there just seems to be complete lack of law out on these roads, and it's just every man for himself, to the point where you can't even trust what people are wearing because allegiances are shifting in real time.
Yeah, they keep
but
being
yeah,
like, "Oh, you're
they-
Bruce Bolton's," and she's like, "What? Why do you think that?" And they're
was-
like, "You're
right, that
wearing
was-
his sigil. What do you mean? Why do we think that?"
And she was like, "Oh shit, that's right." But like, it didn't mean anything to me when I put it on. So why the fuck would it mean anything to me now?
Exactly.
Like, as far as she's concerned. But she does end up announcing herself because they make it sound like, well, we're going to just start shooting arrows, and like whoever's back there is either going to get stuck or come running out. And she, outs herself, and there's like a little bit of kind of like, oh, look at this little boy with this big ass sword that you can't even carry. And she does announce that she's a girl, so she's not doing that anymore.
Oh yeah, I did think that was interesting. I kind of thought every time that she was going to come across new people that she didn't know if she could trust, she would just be like, "Oh yeah, I am a boy. We'll go with that."
And especially just because and I don't know if this is intended or not, but like when she announces that she's a girl to these men, my level of fear for her not only went up, but it went up in very specific ways.
Yep.
And that is not to say that kind of brutality that boys are immediately safe from that. You know, that's not how that works. But there is a very specific sort of thing, especially in fiction and in this type of fiction, where me being worried that a little girl has announced that she's a girl to strange, possibly violent men in the middle of the woods is definitely going to make me feel
Yeah.
but yeah, she does.
experience.
Yeah, and like as much as I'd like to divorce myself from that just to enjoy these wild fantasy books, A, I can't, and B, the book won't let me because the book traffics in that so much anyway.
Yeah, the book is like, oh reality is a very reality thing here.
Yeah, right? So, but they end up, it's so funny. There's a little bit of a standoff, and then like Gendry and Hot Pie like show up as reinforcements, I guess.
I love the vibe between the two of them because Hot Pie's whole energy is just like, "Hey guys, so this is me, and you're very scary, but I'm also going to be completely honest all the time." And then there's Gendry, who's like, "What?
They call me Bull."
What's your name? Why the fuck you want to know? And like honestly, I sort of want to straddle both of those. I don't want to be as like compliant as Hot Pie, but Gendry digs in so hard that I can't help but be like, man, just give him something. Why? Why give him something?
Yeah, he's absolutely like, they haven't told us their names, and then they immediately introduce themselves, and now it puts Gendry in a corner to where he has to now introduce himself.
I love this so much.
And somebody calls her little one, and she just is not here for that.
Yeah.
And she, fucking Hot Pie tells them that they're on their way to River Run.
He's just
like,
blurting shit out all over the place.
He really is. She's like, if you don't fucking shut up, I'm going to stuff your face with rocks.
Oh, God. I'm covering One Piece right now, and y'all are going to know if you watch One Piece what I mean when I say that he's a real Luffy. Hot Pie is the Luffy of this group, just saying whatever, not paying attention to context clues, just doing and saying whatever comes off the top of his head, and you're just sitting there like, how can you be this dense?
Yeah, just portrayed as just being so simple that, like, the basics of self-preservation don't occur to him, with the exception of maybe, like, running and hiding. Everything else, all his other self-preservation instincts are rooted in, like, immediate capitulation to whomever seems to be in charge.
He's a people pleaser.
Like, I am just... Yeah, well, there you go. I'm just
really
going
feel for you all
to
of a sudden.
Just going to throw myself and all of my information I have at your feet and hope that is enough to keep you from killing me. So these guys are basically like, there's an inn that's not too far away that you can come to with us. And, you get a little bit of food and there are friends, and we trust them, and I think it's Arya, it might be Gendry. Somebody is like, friends, plural. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell us some more about that?
Yeah, I think that is Arya, actually. Well, maybe you're right. I'm trying to find the spot that happens at.
I think they both kind of have it, because Gendry is like, what do you mean friends? And it's italicized.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
And then one of the guys is like, have you forgotten what friends mean?
They're like, I mean, yes.
And then Arya pipes in with like, yeah, no, we get it. We want to know who else is there, though, because you said friends. And we find out that this is the same inn where Jaime and Brienne and Cleo's had just been in. Though I'm not sure of the timing of it, but it seems close enough, because once we get to the end, they're still talking about that visit.
Yeah.
So there's some back and forth about like whether they're going to go, and then things get like a little, like they agreed to go to the inn and they're going to follow behind the mummers, so that, I don't know if they're mummers or not, but I'm going to call it mummers for right now, because Arya is like, we want to fucking keep our eyes on them. And then they get there, and it's the same people we just met, only this time the wife is here. Sharna, the woman, is here.
I love Sharna.
She is not here for practically anything.
Nope.
She just calls him husband, which I love.
And later on in the story, he's just being called husband in the narration. It just like says husband put the things on the table, and I just that was a whole vibe. I thought that was so funny. So I loved it so much. There's a bit later in the chapter where husband is like yelling at somebody, and he threatens not to do them harm himself, but to get his wife to come get them. I really want Owen to say that to somebody at some point. I don't want to always be, if Owen can fight, I would like him to also fight. But I would not be mad if he was like, you better watch your step or I'm going to get my wife. I like the idea of having that kind of energy.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
Yeah, good. Be intimidated.
Yeah, I get really salty because a lot of the things that we've been through over the years, I have not been able to
mix it up
forward and mix it up as much as I would have liked on my husband's behalf,
Yeah.
Because there have been a lot of times where I was like, let me get in there. Just let me get in there.
Yep.
We're going to nip all this shit right in the bud. And he'll be like, nope.
Yeah, you and me, it's very different situations with our husbands, but I've also been in that position where I'm just like, I'm about to fight somebody. And I can't. Even just like saying something on my own Facebook, he gets mad about it. Yeah, it's like that wasn't even about the person who like took it that way either. Why can't the person who is this way be the one who read it and gets mad?
Because the people that are like that never fucking think that anybody is talking.
It's true.
It's impossible to get to them that way. That's why you gotta fucking what? You gotta bring that energy to them so they can't like fucking pretend and deny and all that.
I heard you. What you said? You said something. I saw your mouth move. I saw an attitude.
Right. Yeah.
I
mean, I'm pretty sure I felt like you had something to say. So you want to go ahead and say it? Oh no. Oh, okay. That's the fuck I thought.
Weird. It's almost like you're a giant coward. Anyway, I just want to fight, guys. I don't know if you've picked this up on my personality, but I don't really because I can't take a punch. Are you kidding me?
Oh, it's the worst.
Oh my god, I would be on the floor immediately,
terrible.
just like never mind. But in my head, I'm just absolutely going to town. I don't have to take a punch in my mind. That's not how that's going to go.
That is really the best case scenario is a fight where you don't actually ever get punched in the face. That's how I like most of my fights to happen. They haven't all worked that way, but like a good chunk of them, I like to take punching me in the face off the table at like the very beginning.
I just feel like we should all agree. Look, we're about to fight, but really, not we, just me.
And you're just going to take
Please agree to these terms. Sign here. Thank you. It's like the Facebook membership questions. I'm not letting you in unless you answer these questions.
So they get there. There's food to be had. There's bread that's terrible, and hot pie is can't. Like, this bread is awful.
Again, with relating to hot pie, this is so good. I love it so much. He's like, the fuck is this?
I think somebody is like, well, I'm not a baker. And hot pie is like, well, I am. And let me tell you how you fucked up.
This guy is like, I'd like to see you make better. And Popeye's like, okay. Where the kitchen at? Give me some flour.
Like, first of all, you kneaded this bread way too hard. That's why it's so fucked up like this. I think in the show, hot pie stays.
That sounds right, yeah.
But also in the show, it's so muddled. I know that there's a scene in the show at the end where Arya meets somebody, but it like in this chapter, it's this guy Harwin, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember this from the show. I don't think this happened.
I don't think it did either. I can't be positive, but yeah.
But there was an end scene, but it's her traveling with the Hound. I don't know if anybody else is with them or if it's just her and the Hound. And they do bump into somebody, and I want to say it's Brienne, but that might not be right.
I can't remember. It's all over the place with that.
But I have like a weird like memory of like a scene at the end where somebody, because it's like the first time somebody knows that she's who she fucking is. And I remember being like, oh my God, is this it? Is this it? Right? But then it doesn't end up being the way it's supposed to be. I want to say it's Brienne, and I think she like tries to offer to escort Arya, like, I swore to your mother, blah, 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 that whole deal. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't go with her, and I can't remember why she doesn't go with her. But I think that really did happen, because later on in the show, in the season finale, when Brienne comes back around and Arya's back around and they see each other again, I think there was a reference to that day we met in the inn all those years ago.
Oh, okay.
But again, like, you know, I could be stringing pieces of unrelated episodes to be one thing in my brain, because that's how that shit works.
I mean, that's how they wrote it pretty much, too, so.
Right. It's true, so I won't even take 100% responsibility for that. So they're eating and talking about, you know, kind of like what's been happening, and there's conversation about the horses that Arya and Gendry and Hot Pie have, and we find out that they are not, the inn people, the crew at the inn, are not like in agreement about selling those horses and whether that was a good idea or not. And then we get, like, if we didn't already know, we get confirmation that it was in fact our group, because the husband is trying to sort of defend himself, like, you weren't here when they showed up. and one guy is like, yeah, a woman and a guy in chains, like, big whoop. And he's like, but you didn't see that broad though. She was as big as any man and dressed like one, too. And that guy in the chains, I didn't care for the look in his eyes.
Yeah, this is so interesting because, you know, when we're in Brienne's POV, Brienne is so, like, well, we can't trust this guy. He's got friends. And that's, of course, what Jamie's also thinking. And then, like, we've met these guys, and it's still a question of if they are actually, like, trustworthy, but they at least do not seem like the fucking, like, highwaymen brigands that they were all sort of expecting, you know?
Right.
And I just found it sort of surprising, because I really was like, no, get the fuck out of there. I had a strong reaction to the suggestion that they're, oh, why don't you spend the night? Oh, so you can slit my throat in my sleep? Like, you know what I mean? And then I meet these dudes and I'm like, oh, I bet they would not have slit my throat in my sleep. But
it's and I still don't know exactly what these outlaws, these guys are exactly.
Sure, exactly, yeah.
You know, there's so at one point they're all like eating and talking and whatever, and Gendry comes running in because there are men coming, you know, like soldiers or something threatening, and our people, Arya and Hot Pie, they freak the fuck
completely
out. She is like, she just screams like, run, you know, and they try to make a break for it, and these men hold them. And one of the guys, I don't know if it's Tom or Lim or somebody, like Arya goes to pull her sword out, and he like grabs her arm, and he's so strong that like she has no real choice but to sort of drop it. And she has this fucking thought in her head of like, it's happening again. It's fucking happening again, like it happened before, like it happened in the village, you know. They're going to steal my sword and turn me back into a mouse. And you guys, turn me back into a mouse. I had to take a beat. I really did. Because the fear in that, the fear of, was almost got away, and these motherfuckers are going to overpower me and capture me and send me back to, not necessarily even Harrenhal where she just came from, but just back into another situation where I am powerless. And she says to herself, fuck that.
Yep.
And she grabs like her fucking goblet
tankard
or whatever the fuck, and cracks him right in the fucking face.
Good for her.
Right? And she tries to run again, but she doesn't really get anywhere. You know, they still grab her. She can't like really outrun them, and she can't outpower them. But her fucking instinct to like, no, I'm not, fuck this, I'm not going willingly back into any of that fucking bullshit. You guys, it was really emotional for me. I was surprised.
Yeah, this is one of those where it's like, again, we don't know anything about these guys. And they say something to her about how she's being foolish. And I just wanted to be like, do you guys not have any fucking compassion for the fact that these kids have clearly been like really traumatized? Like, they have watched people be raped, cut down, tortured, mutilated. Like, name a fucking horrific thing, and they have seen it done in front of their face. And it being threatened to be done to them.
And when Gendry first comes in, like, you know, it's fucking soldiers coming, so many of them. The Sharna is just like, just relax. Because I think somebody knocks over a drink, and she's like, there is no reason to be knocking over perfectly good ale. God damn it. And she basically tells them to sit down and relax. There's food coming. We're not going to let anybody hurt you. Whatever harm's been done to you, it's over and it's done, and you're with Kingsmen now. We'll keep you safe as best we can. And that does not land at all for any of them. And I can't even blame them. Like, why trust these people? You don't know these people. You can't trust them to protect you, even though they claim that they will. You know, no one else has been in any position to protect you from the horrible things that have been happening. And a few people that were, you saw what happened to them. Like, the last person that really tried to protect them was Euron, right? And look how that ended. Like, it's like, well, it's not that we haven't met anybody willing. It's just, if there are enough of them, it doesn't fucking matter what your intentions doesn't
are.
Matter. And she's just like, you know, fucking freaking out. And the door opens, and these guys kind of start, you know, coming in, these soldiers or whatever they are. And she looks, and she recognizes one of them. And it turns out to be this Harwin guy who actually worked at Winterfell.
Yeah, he was like a groom or something.
Yeah. He was the son of someone named Hullen, and he used to lead her pony around the yard, it says. So some kind of like stable hand or something, you know. And she just rushes right up to him. And I couldn't believe this, because I don't think that anything like this ever happened in the show. She rushes up to him and says, "It's me. Don't you recognize me? Don't you know me?" And she starts crying, and she's just like, "It's me." and this man is looking at her. It doesn't recognize who she is. And then sees the flayed man. He gets completely distracted by that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you were fucking some servant boy to Lord Leech. And for a split second, she's like, oh, fuck. Wait. Do I really, really tell him who I am? You know?
She's just so overcome for a second with, like, the whole being faced with somebody that she knows, that she loses her sense for a moment.
Yeah. And then she realizes, like, oh, well, fuck. And then it does this weird thing, the writing, right? Because she doesn't answer right away. And then what her answer is, first she says, I'm a girl, because he calls her a little boy. And then she says, and, you know, I was Lord Bolton's cupbearer. But we ran off. And she says to him again, you have to know me. You have to know who I am. You used to lead my pony when I was little. And that's what does it. And he looks at her and says, oh my God, Arya underfoot. Lem let go of her. To which Lem is like, well, she broke my neck. And everybody is just like, who in the fuck is she supposed to be? And it said out loud, you guys, which again, I was so unprepared for this. I feel like I don't remember anything like this really happening, except for the weird scene in the end. And even in the end, I don't know if it's completely announced who she is or if that happened in private. But this is said out loud into a room full of people. Yeah. This is Arya Stark of Winterfell. And I just wasn't prepared. Whee! And I don't even know what to do with that now. Like, in my memory, she is not herself for so much of the show that having someone else know who she is and say her name out loud in a room with other people, I'm like terrified.
Right, yeah.
Of what the next page will be. Like, even though I understand this guy is somebody she trusts and knows her, and I guess it's supposed to be okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know where we go from here. Because, what? No one is supposed to know who she is. She spends the entirety of that fucking series, like, incognito. So, I just wasn't ready for this. And I don't know what we get next. I want to know who these guys are. I was talking to you last episode about Gendry, because last episode we meet that Edric Storm character.
Right.
And we were talking about how on the show they run into, they being like Arya and Hot Pie, I think, and Gendry, run into, what were the guys, the Beric Dondarrion and Thoros, is that his name?
The Brotherhood Without Banners?
Brotherhood Without Banners, right? In the show, they run into them and Melisandre, and that's when she gets Gendry.
Right, yeah.
Right? So I'm imagining that this Brotherhood Without Banners, they are out in the streets. They're out in these woods. I know other POVs have mentioned how they just kind of like ransack shit and be fucking shit up for everybody because they're not like about this big war between these kings, because that's like elitist shit. Yeah. You know, we're here for the little folks, and you know what I mean. So I don't know if it turns out that's who this motley crew of people gathered at the end are, because they didn't seem quite as brutal as the Bloody Mummers. They didn't like go, like their first move wasn't like, you know, murdering these children and eating their flesh. You know, they didn't do, you know what I mean? Yep. They didn't do anything really, really terrible. And yeah, they brought them back to this inn with these people that might seem like a little rough around the edges, but they also did feed them. So I'm like, maybe these people at the inn aren't as bad as the Bloody Mummers. Maybe they are this Brotherhood thing. But I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know what happens with Gendry, since it doesn't seem like he needs to be kidnapped, because they have Edric Storm, so I guess he gets to hang out with Arya for longer than he does on the show. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yay! All right. Well, yeah, that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Arya Stark. And everybody's like,
what?
Do you have any predictions on anything that you wanted to share before we wrap up this episode?
I won't call them predictions because, so much of what I know is influenced, whether I'm aware of it or not, from years of being on Wikipedia pages and the show and articles. But if the timing of this book is the same as the show, then this is season 3. And season 3 is when everything that was terrible becomes even more terrible.
That's true.
Right. So I know we're going to get some things that we didn't get in the show. One being Lady Stoneheart, I think her name is.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if that happens in this book. I'm not sure. I'm assuming the Red Wedding happens in this book. If season 3, book 3 is on track.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to getting into that because I know that not only does everything change for the story, but we start really veering from the books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm just really as we get closer and closer to when I don't know what the fuck's going on at all and who these people are and what's next. I can't wait to get to that. So again, not a prediction, but just a vague awareness of stories that are coming for me that I don't really know. I also am curious what happens. Again, not predictions, but things I'm curious about. So the Hound has left,
right,
King's Landing, and is out in these woods on his way somewhere to do something. Does he end up with Arya in the books, or did the books shortcut and make them like a buddy cop thing because they couldn't do something else in the story? I don't know. I'm curious, when will I see him? Will the Hound just show up at this fucking inn like everybody else does? I mean, this is the end of the crossroads, right? Everybody ends up here. So...
Well, that's a good question.
So when will I see him? I haven't seen him since he left Sansa in her room. So I'm hoping that he pops up sometime soon. But for legit predictions, I really don't have any. I want to see what happens with Shay and Tywin. I know that that's coming. I want to see how that really worked or how that really went down. Mm-hmm. The wedding, Joffrey's wedding is coming. I can't wait for that shit. So yeah, there's a lot coming that I'm stoked to be getting to read.
Yay! All right, cool. Well, before we wrap, I have to say hi to new patrons. And so everybody get ready for the air horn, because we are going to be saying hi to Simone Eleanor! My little air horn was turned off when I pressed on and nothing happened, so that's why that took a second.
Uh-oh.
And Ilana Howe!
Yay!
Welcome to all of you beautiful people.
Welcome, people. Oh, I got my postcard in the mail.
The nice
so
69 postcard.
Yeah, you guys, if you're not patrons yet, you need to be a patron at $10 level. It's $10 for the postcard, right?
Yep.
It is a collection of just 69s in the wild.
All these screenshots that I've taken.
And then some people submitted, people started screenshotting on your behalf and sending them in. And then what you wrote on the back had me cracking up.
What did I write on the back? I don't even remember what I said.
It says, okay. I know that after last month's truly heartfelt, sincere postcard, this one might seem a bit immature. But let me assure you, my feelings on 69 screenshots being hugely important to a higher quality of life is just as sincere and heartfelt. We should all be striving to get our daily dose, and I hope that if you haven't gotten yours in a while, a sudden receipt of 11 of them will help you catch up. Sometimes it's the little things that really get us through. And then you just thank everybody for being a supporter and for being a glittering, precious gem in the crown of the unspoiled community.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's pretty good, man.
Pretty good. I always love getting these because Steve was the one who checks the mail, so he's always just like, what's going on?
I love when people like quote me back to me, and I will really just be like, I said that really well. I Like, I don't remember any. You reading that back to me, I must have written that in a fugue state. I don't remember a word of it. Like, truly, all of that was a surprise. But I liked it. Well done. A glittering gem in the crown of Unspoiled? Okay. Nice.
Well done, Pat.
Yeah. High five. All right.
I high-fived A Million Angels the other day. I had so much fun. I cracked myself up. I told a joke, and I feel like Steve didn't appreciate it, so I just high-fived myself.
I do a high five to myself all the time. And I did it in front of Owen's nieces one time, and they fucking fell out. I think they'd never seen it before. So they really thought that was like my joke, and I was just like, I mean, I stole it, but still it is very
That
funny.
is like the best part about making a kid laugh is they have no idea that your material is completely stolen.
Right.
They just think that you're like the most impressive original person they've ever met.
I still think about like bits of books that made me crack up, and I read them out loud to my mom because they made me laugh so much, and she wouldn't laugh the same way. And like looking back, I'm like, oh, because that was played. Like whatever I was reading her, she had seen much better versions of 30 times. But for me, it was brand new, and it was a revelation. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you all again so much for listening. We love you dearly. And if you want to become a patron and get some of those postcards, go to patreon.com/unspoiled and support us. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.